Long-distance relationships can be incredibly challenging. The miles between you and your partner can lead to feelings of loneliness, doubt, and frustration. However, there is a philosophy that can help you navigate these challenges with resilience and inner peace. Stoicism. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy practiced by great thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, teaches us how to control our emotions, focus on what we can change, and accept what we cannot. Today I want to share how Stoicism can be a powerful tool in maintaining and strengthening your long-distance relationship. Focus on what you can control is one of the most important lessons Stoicism teaches us, especially in a long-distance relationship. When you're far away from your partner, it's easy to feel powerless. You might worry about the time difference, the uncertainty of when you'll see each other next, or whether your partner is feeling the same way you do. But the truth is, you have no control over external circumstances like geography, schedules, or unexpected life events. What you do have control over is your own mindset and actions. Instead of dwelling on the distance, you can choose to focus on strengthening your emotional connection. You can make the effort to communicate clearly and consistently, ensuring that your conversations are meaningful rather than filled with frustration over things neither of you can change. You can also control your own personal growth. Many people in long-distance relationships fall into the trap of putting their lives on hold, waiting for the next visit or for the day they can finally be together. But Stoicism teaches us that we should live fully in the present. Instead of waiting, you can focus on developing yourself, pursuing your passions, and becoming the best version of yourself. By doing so, you not only become more fulfilled as an individual, but you also bring more to the relationship. The Stoics remind us that suffering comes from wanting reality to be different than it is. Instead of resisting the reality of being apart, you can accept it and ask yourself how to make the most of it. When you shift your focus to what you can control, your mindset, your actions, and your attitude, you take back your power. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance and start becoming an active creator of a strong, resilient relationship. Practice emotional resilience is a crucial principle in Stoicism, especially in a long-distance relationship where emotions can run high. When you're apart from your partner, it's natural to experience a mix of emotions: loneliness, frustration, doubt, or even jealousy. These feelings can sometimes become overwhelming, leading to unnecessary arguments, misunderstandings, or feelings of helplessness. However, Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot always control how we feel in the moment, we can control how we respond to those emotions. Emotional resilience means developing the ability to acknowledge your emotions without letting them dictate your action. Instead of reacting impulsively when you feel lonely or upset, you take a step back, observe your feelings, and choose a response that aligns with your values and the well-being of your relation. For example, if you find yourself feeling insecure about the distance, instead of seeking constant reassurance or letting anxiety take over, you can remind yourself that your thoughts are not facts. Stoicism encourages rational thinking, asking yourself, is this worry based on evidence, or is it just my mind creating unnecessary fear? A key Stoic practice is reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing distance as a burden, you can view it as a chance to strengthen your ability to be patient, to communicate better, and to build trust. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote that obstacles in life are not meant to break us, but to help us grow stronger. If you can learn to remain calm and composed in moments of emotional turbulence, you are not only strengthening your relationship, but you are also developing a life skill that will serve you in every aspect of life. Resilience also means understanding that emotions are temporary. Stoicism teaches us that suffering comes not from the situation itself, but from how we perceive it. If you tell yourself that distance is ruining your relationship, then it will feel that way. But if you tell yourself that this experience is making you stronger, more patient, and more appreciative of your partner, then the hardship turns into something meaningful. Another key lesson from Stoicism is that we should not wish for an easier path, but instead wish for the strength to walk the path we are on. A long-distance relationship is not supposed to be easy, but it is an opportunity to prove the depth of your commitment. Instead of resisting the difficulty, embrace it. See it as a test that will prepare you for an even stronger future together. Ultimately, love is not just about being together when everything is easy. True love is about choosing each other, despite the challenges. The miles between you are not a wall separating you, they are a bridge, teaching you patience, trust, and the ability to love without possession. And when you finally overcome the distance, you will realize that every hardship was worth it, because it shaped you into a stronger, wiser, and more resilient couple. Detach from over-attachment and anxiety is a fundamental Stoic principle that can help you maintain a healthy and fulfilling long-distance relationship. When you are physically separated from your partner, it is natural to miss them, worry about the future, or feel anxious about the strength of your bond. However, excessive attachment and anxiety can do more harm than good, leading to unnecessary stress, insecurity, and even conflict. Stoicism teaches us that true love is not about clinging to another person out of fear or dependence. It is about appreciating them while maintaining inner peace. One of the most powerful Stoic practices is accepting reality as it is rather than resisting it. In a long-distance relationship, this means acknowledging that you cannot be with your partner all the time, and that worrying excessively about this fact will not change anything. When you become overly attached to the idea that you must be with your partner constantly, or that they must always reassure you, you create suffering for yourself. The Stoics remind us that suffering comes from attachment to things beyond our control. Instead of demanding that circumstances be different, you can choose to accept them with a calm and rational mindset. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught that we should not become overly dependent on external things for our happiness. This applies to relationships as well. While it is natural to love and cherish your partner, it is unhealthy to believe that your happiness depends entirely on them. A strong relationship is built on two individuals who bring joy and stability into each other's lives, not on two people who rely on each other for their sense of self-worth. Another Stoic practice that helps with detachment from anxiety is negative visualization. This does not mean being pessimistic, but rather preparing your mind for different possibilities so that you are not caught off guard. Instead of fearing the worst, such as your partner losing interest or the relationship fading, acknowledge that relationships, like all things in life, are not guaranteed. This does not mean you should expect failure, but rather that you should love and appreciate your partner without needing absolute certainty about the future. When you release the need for control, you can enjoy the relationship for what it is in the present moment, rather than constantly worrying about what might happen. Detachment in Stoicism does not mean indifference, it means loving fully without fear. It means trusting your partner without the need for constant validation. It means knowing that if challenges arise, you have the strength to handle them. It means embracing the relationship without letting anxiety control your thoughts and actions. By detaching from over-attachment and anxiety, you bring peace and stability into your long-distance relationship. You communicate from a place of confidence rather than fear. You appreciate your time together instead of worrying about the time apart. And most importantly, you cultivate a love that is based on trust, respect, and mutual growth, rather than dependence and insecurity. Develop self-sufficiency is one of the most important Stoic principles that can help you thrive in a long-distance relationship. When you are separated from your partner by miles, time zones, or busy schedules, it is easy to feel lonely or even incomplete. Many people in long-distance relationships fall into the trap of thinking that their happiness depends entirely on their partner. However, Stoicism teaches us that true strength and fulfillment come from within, not from external sources. Self-sufficiency does not mean that you do not need your partner or that you should not value your relationship. Instead, it means that you do not rely on the relationship alone for your sense of happiness, purpose, or self-worth. You recognize that you are a whole and complete person on your own, and that your relationship is something that adds to your life, not something that defines it. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, the greatest wealth is a poverty of desires. This means that true happiness comes from needing less, not from constantly seeking external things to fill an internal void. In a long-distance relationship, this translates to not depending on your partner to always entertain you, validate you, or make you feel emotionally secure. Instead of waiting for their texts or calls to determine your mood, you cultivate your own inner peace, confidence and joy. One of the best ways to develop self-sufficiency is to focus on personal growth. This is a perfect time to invest in yourself, pursue hobbies, set goals, improve your skills, and build a life that you love outside of the relationship. When you have your own passions and pursuits, you naturally become a more fulfilled and interesting person, which in turn makes your relationship even stronger. Instead of being consumed by missing your partner, you are actively becoming the best version of yourself, which benefits both you and your relationship. Another aspect of self-sufficiency is emotional independence. In a long-distance relationship, it is natural to miss your partner and crave their presence, but it is unhealthy to let those feelings consume you. Stoicism teaches us that emotions are temporary and should not control our actions. If you feel lonely, instead of dwelling on that emotion or seeking constant reassurance, ask yourself what you can do in that moment to uplift yourself. Maybe it is reading a book, working out, learning a new skill, or simply practicing gratitude for the relationship you have. By learning to manage your emotions on your own, you reduce unnecessary stress and tension in the relationship. Self-sufficiency also strengthens trust. When both partners are independent and fulfilled in their own lives, there is less room for jealousy, insecurity, or unhealthy attachment. You do not need to check up on your partner constantly or worry about what they are doing, because you are confident in yourself and in the relationship. A Stoic does not cling to things out of fear. They love freely, knowing that their happiness does not depend on another person. Ultimately, developing self-sufficiency allows you to bring the best version of yourself into your relationship. You are not placing unrealistic expectations on your partner to always make you happy, and you are not putting your life on hold while waiting to be together. Instead, you are growing, evolving, and embracing the present moment. And when two self-sufficient people come together in a relationship, the love they share is not based on neediness or dependence, but on mutual respect, trust, and a deep appreciation for one another. Communicate with honesty and purpose is a crucial Stoic principle that can help strengthen a long-distance relationship. In any relationship, but especially one where distance is a factor, communication is the foundation of trust and connection. However, not all communication is productive. Stoicism teaches us to speak only when necessary, to be truthful, and to ensure that our words serve a meaningful purpose. One of the biggest challenges in a long-distance relationship is the inability to read body language or pick up on subtle emotional cues the way you could if you were physically together. This makes clear and intentional communication even more important. Instead of assuming your partner knows how you feel, express it openly and honestly. If something is bothering you, discuss it calmly rather than letting resentment build. If you appreciate your partner, tell them sincerely instead of expecting them to just know. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus emphasized that we should speak only what is necessary and beneficial. This means avoiding excessive or meaningless conversation just for the sake of filling silence. In a long-distance relationship, it is easy to fall into the habit of constant texting or daily calls that become repetitive and shallow. However, Stoicism teaches us that quality matters more than quantity. Instead of focusing on how often you communicate, focus on making each interaction meaningful. Have deep conversations about life, values, and personal growth. Share your thoughts with intention and make each conversation count. Honest communication also means being direct and rational rather than emotional and reactive. When misunderstandings arise, which they inevitably will, respond with clarity rather than letting emotions take over. If your partner says something that upsets you, take a moment to reflect before reacting. Ask yourself, is my response coming from wisdom and reason, or from impulse and insecurity. Instead of accusing or complaining, express how you feel in a way that is constructive, rather than confrontational. Another important Stoic principle is avoiding unnecessary complaints. While it is important to share your feelings, constantly complaining about the challenges of distance only reinforces negativity. Instead of dwelling on how difficult it is to be apart, focus on finding solutions and making the best of the situation. Communicate your struggles in a way that invites understanding and problem-solving, rather than pity or frustration. Stoicism also reminds us to listen just as much as we speak. Communication is not just about expressing yourself, it is about understanding your partner. Practice active listening, meaning you focus entirely on what your partner is saying, rather than just waiting for your turn to speak. Truly hearing and understanding their perspective fosters deeper emotional intimacy, even across the distance. When you communicate with honesty and purpose, you eliminate unnecessary misunderstandings, build a deeper bond, and create a relationship that is based on trust rather than guesswork. A Stoic approach to communication is about being clear, calm, and intentional, ensuring that your words are always contributing to a stronger, healthier relationship, rather than adding confusion or conflict. Use negative visualization. To appreciate the present is a powerful Stoic practice that can transform the way you experience your long-distance relationship. It may seem counterintuitive at first. Why would you deliberately think about negative outcomes? But in reality, this technique helps you cultivate gratitude, reduce anxiety, and deepen your appreciation for your partner and the relationship you share. Negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, is a practice where you imagine worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on them, but to prepare yourself emotionally and develop a stronger appreciation for what you currently have. Instead of taking your relationship for granted or focusing on minor inconveniences, this exercise reminds you of how valuable your partner is and how fortunate you are to have them in your life, even from a distance. One way to apply negative visualization in your relationship is to imagine what life would be like if you had never met your partner. What if your paths had never crossed? What if circumstances had prevented you from forming this connection? Thinking about this can instantly shift your perspective from frustration over the distance to gratitude for having someone so special in your life. Another approach is to consider temporary hardships. What if communication became impossible for a while? What if you couldn't visit each other as planned? By mentally preparing yourself for these possibilities, you become more resilient and less likely to react with panic or disappointment when difficulties arise. You also start to appreciate the present moments you share, no matter how small. A phone call, a text, or even a shared silence, because you understand that nothing is guaranteed. Perhaps the most profound application of negative visualization is acknowledging the impermanence of all things. The Stoics remind us that nothing lasts forever, not relationships, not people, not even life itself. This is not meant to be a depressing thought, but rather a way to enhance appreciation. By recognizing that time with your partner is limited, you are more likely to cherish every conversation, every laugh, and every visit, rather than letting small frustrations overshadow the joy of being together. This practice also helps you detach from unnecessary worry. If you spend too much time anxiously thinking about how difficult the distance is, you lose sight of what you have right now. But if you take a moment to consider how things could be worse, you naturally feel grateful for what is going well. Instead of thinking, "I hate that we are apart," you start thinking, "I'm so lucky that we have this connection, even across the miles." Negative visualization does not mean living in fear or expecting bad things to happen. It means preparing yourself mentally so that when challenges do come, they don't overwhelm you. It means shifting your mindset from frustration to gratitude, from entitlement to appreciation. It helps you realize that your relationship is a privilege, not something to be taken for granted. By practicing negative visualization, you train your mind to appreciate the present moment instead of always longing for the future. You stop focusing on what is missing and start valuing what you have. And in doing so, you strengthen your emotional resilience, deepen your love, and create a relationship built on gratitude and wisdom, rather than worry and impatience. Stay present and avoid worrying about the future is a fundamental Stoic principle that can help you maintain peace of mind and a strong connection in a long-distance relationship. When you are apart from your partner, it is easy to let your mind wander into the future, wondering when you will see each other next, worrying about how long the distance will last, or even fearing that things might change over time. However, Stoicism teaches us that the future is uncertain and outside of our control, while the present is the only time we truly have. By focusing on the present moment, you can reduce anxiety, strengthen your relationship, and find joy in the here and now. One of the main causes of stress in a long-distance relationship is the habit of constantly projecting into the future. You might find yourself thinking, what if the distance lasts longer than expected? What if our feelings change? What if something happens that we can't handle? While these concerns are understandable, they are ultimately unhelpful because they focus on things that have not happened and may never happen. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the pain we experience comes not from actual events, but from the worries we create in our own minds. Instead of worrying about what might happen, Stoicism encourages you to anchor yourself in the present. Ask yourself, what can I do today to make my relationship stronger? How can I appreciate the connection I have right now? When you stop letting the uncertainty of the future consume your thoughts, you free yourself to fully enjoy the moments you share with your partner. Whether it is a conversation, a text, or even a simple moment of reflection, being present allows you to experience your relationship in a deeper, more meaningful way. A practical way to stay present is to focus on your actions rather than outcomes. Instead of stressing over when the distance will end, concentrate on how you are nurturing the relationship today. Are you communicating openly? Are you supporting your partner? Are you taking care of yourself? By focusing on what you can do in the present, you create a sense of stability and purpose rather than anxiety. Another helpful Stoic practice is mindfulness. When talking to your partner, be fully engaged, listen attentively instead of thinking about what you will say next. Enjoy the conversation rather than counting down the days until your next visit. When you are alone, practice gratitude for the love you have rather than feeling frustrated about the distance. This shift in mindset helps you appreciate what is in front of you instead of longing for something that is yet to come. Stoicism also teaches us that acceptance is key to inner peace. You may not have full control over the timeline of your relationship, but you do have control over how you respond to it. Instead of resisting reality or feeling impatient, accept the situation as it is and find ways to grow within it. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your emotional resilience and deepen your trust in each other. By staying present and avoiding unnecessary worry about the future, you create a healthier, more fulfilling relationship. You stop wasting energy on fears that may never come true, and instead invest in making each moment count. A long-distance relationship is not just about waiting for the future, it is about living and loving in the present, one meaningful moment at a time. Embrace voluntary discomfort is a key Stoic practice that helps build resilience, discipline, and appreciation for what we have. In a long-distance relationship, discomfort is unavoidable, whether it's missing your partner, dealing with time zone differences, or longing for physical closeness. However, Stoicism teaches us that instead of avoiding discomfort or resenting it, we should embrace it willingly. By doing so, we transform it from something that weakens us into something that strengthens our character and our relationship. The Stoics believed that by deliberately exposing ourselves to controlled hardships, we train our minds to handle difficulties with grace. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, practiced this by occasionally sleeping on the floor instead of in a comfortable bed, wearing simple clothing and eating plain food. He did not do this because he had to, but because he wanted to prepare himself for real hardships. He wrote, It is in times of security that the spirit should be preparing itself for difficult times, while fortune is bestowing favors on it, is the time for it to be strengthened against her rebuffs. In a long-distance relationship, voluntary discomfort can take many forms. Instead of constantly seeking comfort in distractions, you can choose to face the reality of being apart with strength. Instead of always needing reassurance from your partner, you can practice patience and self-sufficiency. Instead of dwelling on how hard the situation is, you can see the difficulty as a test of your resilience. One practical way to apply this principle is by training yourself to be comfortable with missing your partner. Instead of immediately texting or calling when you feel lonely, take a moment to sit with the feeling. Recognize that discomfort is temporary and that you are strong enough to handle it. By doing this, you develop emotional independence and learn that you can endure difficult emotions without letting them control you. Another way to embrace voluntary discomfort is by challenging yourself to grow individually while apart. Instead of wishing the time would pass faster, use it as an opportunity to develop skills, improve yourself, and build a fulfilling life outside of the relationship. This not only helps you personally, but also strengthens your relationship by ensuring that you bring your best self into it. Stoicism also encourages us to reframe how we see hardship. Instead of seeing distance as an obstacle, see it as training. Every moment of longing, every difficult goodbye, and every challenge is an opportunity to practice patience, discipline, and gratitude. When you stop resisting discomfort and start embracing it as part of your journey, it no longer feels like suffering, it feels like growth. The truth is, a long-distance relationship is not supposed to be easy, but the best things in life rarely are. By embracing the challenge, rather than avoiding it, you build the kind of love that can withstand anything. And when you finally overcome the distance, you will know that you did not just endure the hardship, you used it to become stronger, wiser, and more deeply connected than ever before. Love without possession is a core Stoic principle that teaches us to cherish relationships without becoming overly attached or trying to control another person. In a long-distance relationship, this idea is especially important because the physical separation can sometimes create feelings of insecurity, jealousy, or the desire to constantly seek reassurance. However, Stoicism reminds us that true love is not about ownership or control. It is about appreciation, respect, and allowing the other person the freedom to be themselves. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost it,' but say, 'I have returned it.'" This idea applies to relationships as well. We do not own our partner. We simply have the privilege of sharing time and experiences with them. If we cling too tightly or try to control them, we create suffering for ourselves and strain the relationship. Instead of fearing loss, we should focus on being grateful for the moments we do have together. One of the biggest challenges in a long-distance relationship is the inability to be with your partner physically whenever you want. This can sometimes lead to a desire to control their time, emotions, or actions as a way to cope with the distance. You might feel tempted to constantly check in, seek constant validation, or expect them to prioritize you at all times. However, Stoicism teaches us that love should be based on trust, not possession. Trying to control someone or hold on too tightly often pushes them away rather than strengthening the bond. A love without possession is a love rooted in mutual respect and personal growth. Instead of depending on your partner for your happiness, you find fulfillment within yourself. Instead of feeling threatened by their independence, you celebrate it. You recognize that your partner is their own person with their own goals, dreams, and experiences, and you support them rather than trying to control them. Another key Stoic lesson is acceptance of impermanence. Nothing in life is guaranteed, including relationships. This does not mean you should expect failure or detach emotionally, but rather that you should love fully without becoming dependent. When you accept that everything in life is temporary, including the time you spend with your partner, You start appreciating each moment more deeply. You stop worrying about what the future holds and focus on making the present as meaningful as possible. Loving without possession also means letting go of unnecessary jealousy and insecurity. If you trust your partner and your relationship, there is no need to obsess over what they are doing when you are apart. Instead of focusing on what you cannot control, focus on what you can, being the best version of yourself, communicating openly, and maintaining a deep and meaningful connection. The ultimate goal is to love freely, without fear or control, to love in a way that does not suffocate, but empowers, to recognize that love is not about having power over another person, but about sharing a journey together. And in a long-distance relationship, when love is built on trust, respect, and mutual growth, the bond becomes even stronger, because it is not based on physical presence alone, it is based on something much deeper. A long-distance relationship is not just a test of love, it is a test of character, patience, and resilience. Stoicism teaches us that every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger, and the distance between you and your partner is no different. Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, embrace it as a training ground for a love that is built on trust, wisdom, and emotional strength. Focus on what you can control, stay present, and love without fear or possession. Let this journey shape you into the best version of yourself, one who is independent yet deeply connected, patient yet passionate, and strong enough to endure any trial. Because when you overcome this distance, you will not just have a love that survives, you will have a love that thrives, built on a foundation that no amount of miles can break. Keep going, stay strong, and trust that every challenge you face is preparing you for something even greater.